On this week's episode of SchuZ Views, we'll be discussing ESPN's top 25, 25 and under players, injuries, Suns, NBA power rankings, and much more. Stay tuned to see what SchuZ takes have to say. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second episode of SchuZ Views. I'm here currently in the middle of the ocean on a cruise, but this paradise will not be stopping me from bringing you all the new NBA news and updates and my takes on all of them. But before I get any further, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Zach Shoemaker, also known as SchuZ, and later in today's episode, I'll be joined by a great friend, Logan Lober. But before I jump in, I just want to say thank you for all the support this past week on the first episode, as I way more than exceeded my expectations. And, well, let's just jump right in. ESPN released its under 25 top 25 players. With that being said, I have a lot to debate on this list because I do not believe they got a lot of it correct. Let's start off with what ESPN had to say. At number 1, they had Giannis, 2, Embiid, then Jokic, Towns, Ben Simmons. That was your top 5. Then they had Luka Doncic, Donovan Mitchell, Tatum, Fox, and Booker rounding out the top 10, followed by Porzingis. Then they had D'Angelo and Markkanen tied, followed by Capella, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jamal Murray and DeAndre Ayton were tied, John Collins, Yusuf Nurkic. They had Marvin Bagley, Karis LeVert, and Kuzma tied, and then followed by Lonzo Ball and Jaylen Brown at 24 and 25. That being said, yes, some of this is correct. Let's start off right with this. My list of top 25, I practically agree with the top. The top 5 is exactly correct. I just have Karl-Anthony Towns and Ben Simmons switch places. I have Giannis at 1, Embiid at 2, Jokic at 3, Simmons at 4, and Karl-Anthony Towns at 5. You can debate that Towns might be better than Simmons. I think they're pretty much equivalent, both franchise stars, respectfully. I do have Luka at 6, Donovan Mitchell at 7. That's tied so far. We have number 8. I did not have Jason Tatum there. I just have D'Angelo Russell. And that being said, for a very long time, those that know me know how much I have talked about D'Angelo's elite scoring ability. D'Angelo Russell can score the ball at a high level. His only weakness was he was not always mature, and he was not consistent. This past season, I think we can all admit that D'Angelo took those steps. He's shown maturity to an immense leadership ability, as he's become the leader of a team in the playoffs. And followed by that, he's also got very consistent being an all-star. That being said, I have to put him there. Jason Tatum, he's 2 spots down at number 10. But Tatum has disappointed this year. He understands there's a lot more talent, but that talent's not necessarily winning games. And he does not look as great still. He will be a great player. I mean, he's still a top 10 young player. That means he's going to probably be a top 10 player at some point in the league, which I truly agree with. I also then have Devin Booker at number 9. Now, I might get a lot of slam for having D'Angelo in front of Devin Booker, but with that being said, scoring and number base, yes, clearly the stats are better for Devin Booker. But let's just say this. Devin Booker's on a team that does not win games. They're in the Western Conference in the very bottom. Brooklyn beat them twice. D'Angelo Russell's an all-star, and yes, it's in the Eastern Conference, but he is an all-star. And his team is in the playoffs. That is where I have to say that. They're dead equal right there, but when Booker and the Phoenix Suns can start winning games, I would do that, because leadership is key. Sometimes the stats do not need to be as great, necessarily, for a team to be a success, because when it comes down to it, you play a sport, or you play something to win. You want to win games, you want to make the playoffs, you want to win a ring. That is why you play. Or that's why you should play, I should say. So yes, rounding it up, I then have D'Angelo, Devin Booker, and Jason Tatum. Number 11, we both tied, and we have Kristaps Porzingis at number 11. Porzingis has a chance to be a top 5, top 10, a top 10, top 5 player, top 3, possibly the best player. He has the potential to. Not saying he will. He's 7'2", 7'3". Man can shoot and ball handle. This injury is not good though. He's clearly missed over a year now, and we'll have to see how he ends up finishing this. How he comes back from this injury. If he comes back and strong, watch out. But right now, yes, he has to be at 11 for me. I then have at number 12, Lauri Markkanen. The way he's been playing recently has not been as great the last couple of games, but overall through the season, he's shown more than enough glimpses. I believe he had 8 or 9 straight games of having 20 or more points, and along with a double-double. That's impressive. Also, with that, on that note, I did not understand how ESPN ties players. I mean, when you play one-on-one, you don't ever end in a tie. If you do that, I've never heard of that. So when you're playing a game, you do not end in a tie. It's a football thing, not a basketball. So I'm not sure how they had 3 different ties, and one tie had 3 players tied when they all run different positions. I don't understand how you tie a player. So no, I'm not putting ties on my list. And also, by the way, this list is put together by talent right now, not by potential. By potential, I could have a different list here. It would be relatively the same, but it would be different. I'm going by what's being displayed at the minute, at right now, what we're watching. Then at number 13, as I said, they had marketing, but I decided to put in Karis LeVert. That being said, yes, beginning of the year, I think no one really would have debated me and argued me. Having that gruesome injury, he has struggled coming back, but he's shown his glimpses of being able to get to the rim, do his same moves. He has his explosiveness and his speed. I can just tell he still was a little bit hesitant and worried about going up for that final shot because obviously he had a massive injury that was very gruesome and affected a very big part of who he is, going to the rim and attacking. And just imagine, every time he's going up for a shot or having to jump, knowing coming down something could happen again. So yes, it's going to give him time, but trust me, Karis LeVert will be an elite player. He's an all-star caliber player. When he clicks, y'all understand why I put him right there. At number 14, I have Marvin Bagley III. I put him there because he's as a second rookie on this chart, but I put him there because this man can put up a 20 and 11 any given night. He can space the floor and shoot. He reminds me almost of a Chris Bosh when he was younger, but if not even better than the Chris Bosh. And we know Chris Bosh is a multiple-time champion, 10-time All-Star, will be a Hall of Fame player. That's your 14th player, by the way, in my top 25 young players. You're talking about a potential Hall of Fame player at number 14. His athleticism will allow him to dominate the game and play at a whole other speed. With him and Fox will be special. And I mean special. If you have not watched Sacramento games, you need to watch at least one of those games. Watching De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley run the court on a fast break is something special. I'm talking Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, fast break special. They get past everyone and they put on a show. If you watch the Rising Stars game, you know what I'm talking about. And having Buddy Hield be able to be out there and space the floor, it is a special thing going on right now in Sacramento. At number 15, I have Zach LaVine. In my opinion, let me just say this. Zach LaVine gets no respect whatsoever. This man is balling this year. Averaging about 24 points per game. Doesn't even get talked about most improved. But he puts his work in, and he is dominating this game. This season, he's playing at an elite level. I understand Chicago's not winning a lot of games, but they're competitive. And I appreciate that and respect that. But Zach LaVine is a real deal, and he is special. So that's why I got at 15. I then have Capella at number 16. All right. Clint Capella is a great player. I do not have him just about the same place ESPN had him at. But Clint Capella is a pick and roll man that fits perfectly in Houston. He will be a dominant player, but he's not really anywhere else. I don't know how well he will be. Almost like a Jared Allen in Brooklyn and Rudy Gobert almost in Utah. They are great players, perfect for the team, perfect for the system, but they're a system big man. They're almost like Steven Adams. These guys are perfect. They're winning caliber players, but they're not necessarily at elite level. But I'll put Capella because his numbers will be elite. I mean, the guy's out, I believe, 17 and 13. 17 and 12. Number 17, I have Jusuf Nurkic. I put him up higher than ESPN put him because Jusuf Nurkic has had many historic games. He can fill that stat sheet. And I did not realize this, but somehow he is still 24 years old. He is young, and Portland have a very special thing. And just a thing, Nurkic and Jokic were on the same team just about 2 years ago. That's how great the management and the front office is in Denver, which is why they have this depth of elite young talent. Number 18, I have De'Aaron Fox. And yes, ESPN put him high, and I am very high on De'Aaron Fox. We all know that. I believe that Phoenix should have picked De'Aaron Fox last year to be that point guard. He would have been perfect for Devin Booker and now Ayton, but they didn't get him. But De'Aaron Fox is an amazing player, but all these players are elite. We have the greatest, most bright spot than any other sporting league right now in the NBA in terms of young talent. But De'Aaron Fox can play. But I have him right there. His shooting will continue to get better. It already has tremendously improved. But with that being said, De'Aaron Fox, he could very well move up this list. But for me, I have to put him there because of the fact that no, he's not winning games necessarily right now, and his numbers are not as elite as some of these other players are. Going at number 19 is DeAndre Ayton. And I think he has a potential to tremendously rise. But once again, I'm putting this on a talent right now. He could be a top 10, top 5 player, don't get me wrong. Karl-Anthony Towns is not out of the question. Even a potential Joel Embiid is not out of the question. But for me, What bothers me about DeAndre Ayton, and I'll get into this a little bit later when I'm joined by Logan Lober, but my worry about Ayton is that, first of all, yes, they're not winning games, but I don't care about that necessarily for this list. It's the fact that, yes, he puts up these monster double-double games, and he's doing historic things for a rookie double-double wise. But he still struggles and doesn't score at all, literally. 2, 3, 4 points in games, and gets a couple of rebounds. But that's not even it. There's one thing that bothers me the most about DeAndre Ayton, and that's defensively. And he has the body to be an elite 3, 4, 5-time defensive player of the year, and that's what I'm saying. He is 7 foot, 7'1", and trust me, he is truly that height. And he's got athleticism out of the gym. You see when that guy jumps up for those alley-oops when they're thrown by anyone, even some of these point guards that just D'Anthony Melton, something that throws not good lobs. Ayton is able to get up there and slam those things down. With that athleticism, it would be easy to become an elite shot blocker. He's not even averaging 1 block a game. That bothers me a lot for him. And we'll see. Once again, he can rise, but right now that's what I'm having. You can sometimes I feel like he does not work his all out for this game. Number 20 is Pascal Siakam. Siakam is a very, very, very good player. But I think he gets ranked a little bit too high sometimes. I truly do think that. I think that in some way he has been overhyped this year. And I think he's the leader for most improved, and I think he's winning that award. He's going to be an all-star caliber player, but not right now. He has to have time to still develop and get into his rhythm and who he's going to be. And I find more and more consistency. But he is very big for that Toronto team, do not get me wrong. Following him is Brandon Ingram. In my opinion, I like Ingram more than Kuzma. That is where I have him. Kuzma's a great player, but he's older, yes. But he's not Brandon Ingram. We saw what Ingram did prior to this injury, and we'll discuss this injury in a little bit. He was putting up 25 or more and being the leading scorer for that Lakers team. He was looking like the second superstar for LeBron James. He can play. And I understand that everyone thought he was going to be the next Kevin Durant or whatever, but let me tell you, those last games before this injury, after the All-Star break, a couple weeks before All-Star break, he looked like the second coming to Kevin Durant. He truly did. But I have to keep him down there because it's not consistent through the whole time. I think if he would have continued this for the rest of the season, I would have moved him up to the top 15, if not higher. He is very, very, very special. 22, I have John Collins. Y'all know how much I love him and that Trae Young duo. It is special. It is very special. John Collins, though, is a double-double machine. It might just be one of the greatest defensive players our game might have once he reaches his prime. I realize right now that his defense is not as well, but his athleticism and his strength can be special. But without a doubt, he will become this generation's best rebounder, the next Andre Drummond kind of player, as he matures. He puts his heart out. The reason I have him in front of Trae Young is because Trae Young is younger, but also John Collins double-double, and the factor was that once John Collins played, Trae Young stepped up. Because John Collins missed quite a few games in the very beginning of the year. Following that, number 23, I have Miles Turner from Indiana. A lot of people don't really know who he is. They wonder why he's getting paid a big extension this last summer, or before the season started. His scoring is, I believe, at 13 points. The rebounds are at 7, which is not great for a big man, which is why he's not much higher. But he is the best shot blocker in this game. Him and Mitchell Robinson, but I have to go with him. Miles Turner just gets 5, 6 blocks every game. He's almost got 3 blocks a game right now. But since he's been coming back from the All-Star break, he's blocking every single shot. And he is special. Now, offensive game is going to come. It's going to keep developing. He's still very, very young. And let me just also say this. Texas, as a college program, might just be one of the best big man developing centers. Think about the centers that's come out of this program recently. Of course, you got LaMarcus Aldridge and some guys from a while ago. But recently, you've got guys like Miles Turner, Jared Allen, Mohamed Bamba. And now this year, they have another youngster, Jackson Hayes, which I like. They are developing and they are producing elite NBA centers in this game right now. 24 is where I have Trae Young. He might be able to move up some. He can score, and that's all I'm going to say. It's plain and simple. And he's passing. He's going to be elite. He will be a top 10, 15 player soon. Number 25, I have Jamal Murray. He's shown signs of not being consistent, but that's the same thing D'Angelo Russell had, but he can score 18.3 points per game. He can play and he can score, and he is very crucial to that Denver Nuggets success. I love Jamal Murray. Now, falling outside of the list, some of the biggest snubs I didn't have include Andrew Wiggins, which I think, yes, he is not the next Kobe Bryant as some people thought. And yes, I do believe I love Andrew Wiggins. As I know me, he's one of my top 3 favorite players, along with Marvin and Embiid and a lot of the other Jayhawks, my Nets. But Andrew Wiggins, if you're going to really tell me this part, that he has now the potential to be an all-star, I don't even know what to say to you. His body, his length, his athleticism is elite. He just needs to keep working in that gym, and I hope it clicks for him. But you still got to realize he's already second all-time on Minnesota Timberwolves points. He's averaging about 20 points a game in his career, and he's still averaging 18 points. So do not call him a bust or the biggest bust ever. That is ridiculous. I can think of 15, 20 busts that are way worse than Andrew Wiggins. Don't even get me started on that question. Also, do not have Julius Randle, which has been playing at an elite level, and he's going to be a very highly pursued free agent this year. Kuzma, which can play. I just don't know about consistently recently. Jared Allen will continue to get more mature and strengthen up because once he reaches his potential, knows he can put up those 20-20s every game. He's elite, and that three-point shot's starting to come together. Jaren Jackson Jr., he's a franchise caliber player. Sabonis is great, Knox is great, Aaron Gordon, Sexton, Lonzo Ball, and Dennis Smith Jr., all of them will be great players. And that's all I'm going to say. That is my take on the ESPN under 25, top 25 players. Our league is special, and you need to wake up and realize this. No sports league, the NFL, the MLB, soccer, there's no sport league that has the level of young talent and talent in their league coming up. The NBA will be special, and just like I say, MLB, no one thought that would ever be replaced as America's sport. That was America's pastime. Guess what? It's been replaced, and it's football right now. Now, no one thinks that football will be replaced. Let's just see about that. Give it 10 to 15 years. Times are changing. The NBA is rising. This past week, a lot of news has been broken about injuries. Malcolm Brogdon, out for the rest of the season most likely. Brandon Ingram, 3 to 4 months recovery. CJ McCollum injures his knee. Dante Exum once again goes down. And what my take is on this Anthony Davis situation. Stay tuned to what I think these injuries have on their impact on these teams. Alright, so let's get right into this. Malcolm Brogdon out a minimum of 6 weeks. That puts him into the middle of the playoffs. I believe it would be right around the conference championship. That is not good, because in my opinion, let me tell you this. I love this Milwaukee Bucks team. John Horst and that front office put together an amazing team along being led by Coach Bud at the helm of it. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, he is not the best player. Obviously, it's Giannis. Giannis is an MVP player. But when I view this Milwaukee Bucks, I view a team that's like a headed dragon, a 5-headed dragon. The front and center, the biggest thing is Giannis. He controls it. But without those 4 other guys being Bledsoe, Middleton, Brogdon, and Brook Lopez, I don't see what they are. They are crucial to each other. That's why adding Brook Lopez in this year, and Coach Bud, by adding Brook Lopez in, has made a massive change. Those 5 guys play together perfectly. They are one whole team. They're one unit. Taking a guy out makes him look a lot weaker, as we saw last night against Philadelphia. Brogdon is crucial to this team, and I'll get in more about his stats in a little bit. But he is special, and he was perfect for this team. I believe this will really hurt them. I didn't think they were going to make the championship anyways, but I do not see the way that they're going to make it without him. Because adding him probably means, if they keep this lineup as they did yesterday, that Mirotic will be a starter, making that bench very weak. I'm just saying, Milwaukee might be in trouble. Secondly, let's get into this. Brandon Ingram. He is a very special player, and as I said just a little bit ago, he was putting on a show prior to this blood clot issue. Now, I pray that he is okay. Because once again, I am a fan of this game, and I don't care what team you are or who you are, I will root for you. I don't know what to say. I hope they say it's 3 to 4 months full recovery. Great. Many injuries are a recovery, and they come back from that injury. Doesn't mean your body's more able to handle an injury or a blood clot. The blood clot's not basketball related necessarily, but it can potentially kill you. If this is not figured out quickly and resolved, there might be a big issue here. And by the way, This is a little bit more about the Lakers. I'll get into a couple more things in a little bit, but I just want to shout out to Josh for the idea about this. Now let's get into also a little bit of Portland, which Caden Zurich asked me to do. CJ McCollum goes down. They say it's only going to be a week. They'll be reevaluating it. That's great news. First of all, I'm not really sure exactly what this injury is, but the way CJ McCollum was in pain, I do not believe it's a 1 week injury thing. I think this will stretch out or will affect him. And I hope they diagnose the right thing than just this pullout injury. But CJ McCollum is very crucial, and we all know if they do not have CJ McCollum, that team was done. Damian is spectacular and one of the best players in this game. I truly do believe he is an elite leader and one of the best leaders amongst our game. But without CJ, I don't know where they're going to go. That team is not very deep at all. I love the additions of Rodney Hood and his cancer and company. But without CJ McCollum, I don't know what they're going to do. He's a 25.5 point per game scorer. That cannot be replaced by anyone on that team. Next topic, or next person, Dante Exum. I feel horrible for this kid. This kid has all the potential to be a player like Spencer Dinwiddie or better. He is tall, athletic, and very long. I was a big fan of him coming out of Australia, and he can play. But every time he starts getting going, possibly even gets a starting role or is playing at a high level, he goes down with another injury. He just got back from missing 2.5 months, and now he's out again for indefinitely. Utah's got a special young talent there, and I believe that Donovan Mitchell, Exum, and Gobert crew could be an elite big three. But if Exum can't be healthy, I don't know what to do. I hope that they can figure this out. I don't know what they need to do, but they need to get him healthy. And my next part, this Anthony Davis situation is bothering me. First of all, they're ruining his numbers statistically. What's the point? Why make them play? There's so many players that don't get playing time. These guys that sit on the end of the bench don't play. So what's the difference between Anthony Davis and him? They don't have to make him play. He's going and making the team worse at times. He plays lazy. The Pelicans have a better record when he does not play. Randall's handling his business. Okafor can handle his business. Shaq Dill has stepped up. I'm tired, and I'm sick and tired of watching him have to go in the game and just screw around. This is ridiculous. Don't let him play. Don't let him be by the team. It is affecting the team. So yes, a lot of big injuries this past week. That's my take on a lot of these things. A lot of them I feel bad for. A lot of things I just don't understand, and they need fixing. I love the commissioner, but this is the one change that Adam Silver must make, as I do not understand the Anthony Davis case whatsoever. It needs a change. This is ridiculous. Sit him out for the rest of the year. That's all I gotta say. Stay tuned for the next segment of SchuZ Views and help me welcome my friend Logan Lober onto the show. We help discuss the Phoenix Suns and the direction that they have taken, what they could have done and should have done, and what my take is on this whole situation. Alright, I'm here today joined by Logan Lober. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So let's get right into it. Let's talk about the Phoenix Suns. Who do you think should have been drafted with the number 1 overall pick this past year?
For me, I think Ayton was the pick for them all along. When they hired Igor, there's rumors that maybe they would prefer Doncic over him just because they've had experience. But I mean, I think Ayton, he was the right pick for them. I
Mm-hmm.
just he was just the right guy for them.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that he's a great player and he's going to be a 10-time All-Star or more, especially after they start winning games. I just
Mhm.
think that going back, Luka probably, of course, right now is the best player overall
Yeah.
because just in terms of rookie year, but I still think that in terms of who they should have drafted would have been Marvin, just because of the fact that the power forward spot is the weakest in the NBA, and there's so many centers that can be picked up that might not be at DeAndre's level, but are good enough. Such as like last offseason, you could have tried pursuing someone like DeAndre Jordan or Yusuf Nurkic and stuff, different guys like that. And Hassan Whiteside's
hmm
available this summer, so
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, overall, I mean, it's been a historic year for Ayton as in terms of rookie center.
oh yeah.
But I mean, it's been a historic year for the entire class. I mean, it's
hmm
crazy to think that Aiton's putting up numbers that no rookie big man has ever done. It's not really getting talked about.
hmm
The scary thing is about Ayton is that he can do so much more. Booker said he's not a 16 and 10 guy. I mean, he can get 30 and 20, if he
Oh
really
yeah,
went out there and balled out.
and that's the thing
You know,
I do love about the fact that I mean he's 7 foot and he's 250, and I mean his body is not a 20-year-old body,
oh no,
which is the
no way.
craziest part. But I mean, just thinking about like you said, his numbers are 16 and 10 right now this year, and the fact that he's not even second place in rookie. I mean, it's Luca and then
No,
probably
yeah,
Trey
it's
Young.
yeah,
I mean,
for
and then
sure.
you got to see there's different guys like Jackson that's had to miss a lot of the season with injury now. Marvin's missed a lot of the season, and when they played, they were spectacular. And Wendell missed a lot. I mean,
Yeah.
this
I
class
mean,
is definitely special.
yeah, I mean all the lottery picks, I mean you could give a case for them being, the face of their franchise for the next 10 years.
Oh yeah. I mean, even these second round picks like Mitchell Robinson and Brunson's been playing spectacular, and Rodion's and a whole lot of different second round picks.
Yeah.
But I mean, the one thing that does concern me about DeAndre is the fact that he doesn't even average a block a game yet, which
Yeah,
being
that is
seven,
something.
yeah, I mean, being 7'1" and his athleticism, I mean, he could easily do a block a game. I
Yeah.
mean,
I
his
mean,
body
he's
could get
shown
him 2 to 3.
yeah, he's shown some good strides defensively this year, but
Mm,
yeah, definitely there's still work to be done.
yeah.
But I mean, with the talent that he possesses at such a young age, I mean, the sky's the limit for him.
Oh yeah,
So,
without a doubt. All right, well, let's talk into this now. Obviously, we all know that McDonough was able to go the entire offseason, being able to pick number one, which is one of the most prestigious picks you could possibly have, and then go through an entire NBA offseason just to be fired right after it. What was your thoughts on that?
yeah, I mean, the timing of the firing, it was surprising to say the least.
Hmm.
Looking back on his tenure, you highlight the findings of guys like Booker and Warren. But other than that, I say his drafts were pretty underwhelming.
Hmm.
But with that being said, it's hard to judge him too much on his moves, knowing, how much Sarver likes to be in control
For
with the
sure.
team. I mean, with that report coming out a couple weeks ago about the NBA coming out and
Hmm.
saying they're worried about how they're being run, I mean, it's just
Oh yeah.
embarrassing. But I
Hmm.
mean, I think what it came down to this year was, just his inability to acquire a point guard
That's
before
for
the
sure.
season started.
And that's why I think, I mean, the part of having a GM is mostly the trade deadline is the only part during the season you really have a GM, and then the off season is their job. I mean,
Right.
that's what I just was shocked that they let him do. The number one pick in the draft, hiring a new coach, and an entire NBA offseason, which, I mean, he only signed really Trevor Ariza and Jamal Crawford, which, no, Jamal wasn't
Yeah.
even done by him. James Jones signed him. I mean, it was only
Yeah.
Ariza,
Hmm.
which didn't really make much sense having the fact that there was Warren, Josh, and McCall all at the same
Yeah.
time. So,
Hmm.
I mean, that, and then also they hired Igor Koskov, which he has some good spots, but what's your thoughts on hiring him?
Yeah. When the offseason began, uh, the only guy I was really hoping they would bring in was Budenholzer.
Hmm.
He's from Arizona, and he just seemed like a really good fit.
For sure.
And we've seen what he's done with the Bucks this year.
Hmm.
But other than him, no one really stood out to me too much. I mean, I guess the next guy would be Fizdale,
Yeah.
but yeah, none of the coaches really caught my eye.
Hmm.
I think he's done a decent job this year, Igor.
Yeah.
And then once again, it's just hard to judge him completely, knowing that he hasn't had a starting point guard all year.
Hmm.
Um, I see people saying the same type of stuff on social media, like, get him a point guard and then see what he can do.
For sure.
But the one thing that I'm not too happy about is the way that he, incorporates Aiton into the offense.
Oh yeah.
It just seems like he only uses him in the pick and roll with Booker,
Hmm.
and like 80% of those pick and rolls, Booker, come off the screen and pull up for three,
Oh
and
yeah.
Aiton's past the 3 point line, so he's in no position to get that offensive board,
Hmm.
you know. So
And that's where I think also this past year, like when you're a team that's losing and you're struggling, when the tension's not on you whatsoever, I think that it's a time to especially develop something. And DeAndre, I mean, if he would start attempting one, two, three threes a game, there
mm,
wouldn't be much attention, even if he didn't make them ever. It's just getting exposure and game experience, shooting a three or shooting a longer shot for when the time does matter. Because it's not going to be like Ben Simmons, where also if you can't shoot the three and you're in a big situation where the spotlight's on you, it's really going to affect you and bring negative attention down on you.
right.
Just
you know, the way going back to how Aiton's used, a guy like Rashawn Holmes that comes off the bench, I think he's, for that offense, he's great for the
Oh
team.
yeah.
He's just a scrappy guy, set some hard picks and get boards. But it's like, Aiton's not that guy. I mean, he was the number one pick.
Oh
He's
yeah.
he's the guy you're going to be building around. You
hmm
gotta get him involved. Even though you have a guy like Booker who can go off for 40 points every night.
And that's who I hope they. I mean, they better re-sign Rashawn Holmes. I think he's perfect for that
Oh yeah,
backup big man role. There's not many big men that can be
yeah, I
much
love
better.
him. Mm,
But I think also going back to the coaching part, I do love parts of Igor, but I just feel like a lot of the time with some moves that Phoenix has made, and even the Cardinals and other Arizona teams, is that
mhm.
they hire the coaches way too early and they don't wait it out.
Yeah.
Because Igor was not a highly sought out coach. There wasn't multiple
Oh
teams
yeah,
trying to
I
get
didn't know
him.
who he was. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, they could have waited another week or so to see what happened because 3 weeks
hmm
after they hired him is when Dwayne Casey was fired, and that also could have been a good.
Oh yeah, I didn't remember that.
I mean, Coach Bud. I mean, of course, Bud would have been my favorite one. He's one of the greatest coaches in the league right now. But I
Yeah.
think having an opportunity to go coach Milwaukee is almost something you can't pass up. Having Giannis in a playoff mode, and
Yeah.
then David Fizdale, if a team like a big market like New York is going to offer you tons of money, and at the time you're going to have someone like Porzingis or cap space, it's hard to pass up as well. But I mean, Casey went to Detroit, which is not they're a playoff team, but they're not sought out. I mean, you have Booker and Aiton, which are two very big pieces. I mean,
Right.
they could have easily got him. I think if they just waited out, and I mean, what he's done with
Yeah.
out there in Toronto was amazing. And then of course what he's done now in Detroit has been a lot better recently.
Yeah. Once again, I just think it goes back to Sarver. He's
hmm
just not a good owner. I just
I
don't
agree
think anyone that appeals to anyone.
hmm
Player, coach, anyone who'd be interested in Phoenix.
for sure. And then the next part we should get into is, well, who they should draft this year, the upcoming draft, who they should target.
Zion. Yeah, that's pretty
hmm
much it. No, but the obvious answer for any taking team is Zion. But
hmm
I mean, I think it should be interesting to see how the lottery goes this year with the top three teams having the same odds.
hmm
But I'm a big believer in John Morant.
For
I
sure.
think I think he's the real deal.
hmm
He'd be the point guard of the future. He'd take over that starting spot rookie year. But I do think it would be tough to compete next year with the rookie point guard. You
hmm
know, I mean, we've seen what the Kings have done with De'Aaron Fox. I mean, I know he's not a rookie, but he's still very young. But I mean,
hmm
they've been in the playoff mix the whole entire year.
For sure.
But I mean, if they fully want to commit to competing next year, I think the best thing for them would be to go out and sign a veteran point guard.
hmm
Maybe a guy like Kemba Walker. You
hmm
know, um, I think if they continue to show good signs, they've been playing good over the past 10, 12 games. I don't think, signing Kemba, I don't think that's too unrealistic. But I mean, if they just completely fall off again and, lose 13 in their next 14 to lose
hmm
for the season, I don't think Kemba would, want to sign here too much.
I mean, that's also the other thing. The Suns have won 5 out of the last 9, and prior to this 2-game losing streak, they were 5 out of the last 7,
Yeah,
which is a good thing in terms of these young guys don't know how to win games, which is why I'm very much against tanking. But
right.
seeing them be able to win some of these games has been impressive. Only thing is that hopefully they do lose a little bit more in terms of being able to still keep a top pick in the draft and not fall out of that. Because if you fall
Yeah,
out of the top three, there's not much you can get besides Zion, RJ, and John Moran. I mean, Reddish has talent,
yeah,
but
I don't know.
I mean, there's not much career-changing potential stars possible. I mean, Bobo might be a who knows what because of the injury, but besides that, there's not much superstar talent you're going to get.
Yeah, I'm pretty much focused in on Zion and John Morant. I don't
hmm
see too much of a need for RJ Barrett on the
Yeah.
Suns just because I don't see him as a point guard. And
hmm
I mean, he just add to, one of the 10 wing players they have, So,
Oh yeah.
I think he has great potential. I think he'll be a great player, but, just not the best fit for the Suns.
Yeah, and I think Zion obviously is the go-to guy, but in terms of Zion, once again, they do have so many small forwards already on the roster, and Zion is known his one weakness is shooting, which
Mhm.
once again bringing up the fact that DeAndre is not a shooter. He's gonna dominate. He's not really clogging the paint. He's gonna dominate the paint, but having two guys like Zion and DeAndre might really affect the flow of the game and even
Yeah.
affect Booker long term because Booker will ultimately be double teamed or zoned up on and will affect the
hmm
3-point shot. So
Yeah.
I think that John Morant truly is the best option. I mean, there's so many point guards you can sign. I mean, the point guard's the most there's the most talent in the point guard position. I mean, you just look at there's teams like Utah right now that have Rubio's a free agent and Exum, but Exum's had injury issues. I mean, you got Rozier and Kyrie. I mean, you got so
Yeah.
many guys. Brooklyn's got D'Angelo Dinwiddie. There's so many teams that have an all-star or above, way above average starter and an elite six-man slash backup point guard. I mean, point
Right.
guard's very abundant to find. So I think that's why I don't understand from last summer how hard it was to truly grab a point guard caliber player.
hmm Yeah. And I mean, no one, I mean, Terry Rozier hasn't had the best year this year,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, but he showed great signs in the playoffs last year. So
For
I
sure.
think if they would have got him for this, like, if they would have had him this year, I think he
Hmm.
would have been better than what he's doing now this year on the
Yeah,
Celtics.
for
But
sure.
I think his value has gone down this
Oh
year for
yeah.
sure.
They were talking about getting a lottery pick from last summer, but thank
Oh
goodness Suns
yeah.
didn't do that.
Uh-uh.
But all right, the next last thing we're going to talk about then would be what out of the two small forwards being Oubre, Warren, Josh, and Mikal, who do you think should be the two that they keep?
For me, the first thing they would need to do with them is lock up Kelly Oubre for sure.
Hmm.
You know, although the record says otherwise, you can really say that he saved their year.
Oh yeah.
He came in and really changed the identity of this team and brought in a whole new culture.
Hmm.
Um, it's just it's a joy to see someone who loves going out there night in and night out and compete at the level he does. Um, but as far as the other guys go, I think once again that TJ Warren will be the odd man out. I
Hmm.
think they do. I think they only get rid of TJ Warren. I think they
Okay.
will keep three of the four.
Hmm.
Even though Josh Jackson hasn't fully lived up to the hype of being a top five pick, he's an excellent defender and his jumper has shown potential.
For sure.
But for Bridges, I think a huge breakout year is in his future.
Hmm.
I mean, the guy has a knack for taking the ball away from his opponent, and
Oh yeah.
he can hit the three pretty easy. He's a perfect example of what 3 years in college does for you.
Hmm.
Um,
For sure.
and it's amazing to see, the trio of Jackson, Bridges, and Oubre, what they can do on the court defensively at the same time. I mean,
Hmm.
they can cover the entire width of the court sticking their arms out. So they have a
Hmm.
real defensive core and those three guys alone.
For sure. And that's what I mean. I for sure think Oubre first and foremost must be locked up. I mean, there's
Yeah,
no way around that. I mean, he brings that swag that every kind of team needs. That just that energy and emotion that captures and the whole city falls in love with. Because Booker has the talent, but he doesn't really. He has that more of the quiet kind of
yeah,
attack
for
killer.
sure.
And DeAndre is not really. He can get emotional, but he's more.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go to work and get my stuff.
yeah. I
Almost kind of
mean,
like what
yeah,
Shaq did. I mean, Oubre is that heart, energy, and the soul leader, that Draymond kind of this guy that everyone loves as a
mhm.
fan base. And I mean, since he's come over, since from Washington, he's averaged 16.5, 5 rebounds, almost 2 assists, a steal, and a block a game. I mean,
Yeah, and
he
I mean
does it all.
since entering the starting lineup, after the All-Star break, I mean
Hmm.
he's almost up to 20 points and like two
Hmm.
steals. I mean, yeah, I mean he's he's been here for not even half the year and he's already a fan favorite. I mean, he's
Hmm.
taking pictures with the fans, he's been
Yeah,
very vocal about, he wants to
wanted to
be here
stay.
next year.
Hmm.
He wants to create something here in Phoenix, which is just amazing to hear, knowing, what this franchise has gone through the last 6 years.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. When I look at it, I mean, I think that having too many small forwards will affect them, especially being young players. They want minutes and they want playing time. So when I
Mm,
overall look at it, I think that there could only be two because of emotion. And I mean, mostly you see Oubre and Warren are. I mean, I mostly break it down to two guys are defense, two guys are offense, and I think Warren and Oubre are the two offense guys.
yeah.
And Warren, number wise, has more points per game. But I
Mm,
think overall, Oubre is younger and he's, like I said, he captures the city. So I think, like you said, I think Warren will be out. I don't see it
mm,
anyway staying, especially
mm,
with the nine playing through this crucial part of the season. But then
yeah.
on defense, I mean, McCall and Josh would be the two defensive guys, and I don't know how they necessarily will play. And I think that McCall has to stay. I mean, him being young,
Yeah.
and I mean,
For
he's
sure,
just,
Oubre and Bridges,
hmm
if they could get a good, because I mean I think Josh Jackson still has value. I mean he
yeah,
was the fourth pick,
oh yeah,
and he plays great defense. So I think
Hmm.
a team would want him, if Phoenix decided to move him this offseason.
Yeah. And I mean, having McCall, I mean, he's averaging almost 2 steals a game, which is not
Yeah.
just
I
among
mean,
some of
he's
the
fifth
best
in
in
the
the
league.
NBA. Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, it's amongst the best of the rookies. I mean, it's one of the best in the league. So he will be an elite, at least 3 and D player, at
yeah.
least.
Hmm.
I mean, with Josh, I just knowing him, I've talked to him a few times. I know him. He's
Right.
not. He's a very emotional player. He does not, and he doesn't necessarily just let anything go through. And he does
Hmm.
cause drama when
Yeah.
drama can occur. And that's one thing that I see losing. I mean, we've seen it many times of just different teammate scuffles and different issues that break out. And Josh seems to mostly be in the mix of it. And that's something that you have to worry. I mean, how long will it be till Phoenix is a legit winning team? And will
Hmm.
Josh keep his head in check? I mean, he just missed the signing thing a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
I
I did.
mean,
Yeah, I heard about that. Kind of the
he,
same thing with Marquise Chris, he
yeah,
kind of showed it in games, got a lot of texts and,
hmm
you know,
and that's why I
and
think
he's obviously not
Josh.
on the team.
Yeah, I think Josh for sure will get value. I mean, he goes to a right
Mm,
team that knows how to develop him, gives him minutes, needs that defensive kind of guy that has potential on offense. I mean,
right.
they'll be willing to give up a mid first round pick for sure, and possibly another talent attached with a young asset. So I think that mostly will make the most sense for them, and then signing another forward or drafting another guy would
Hmm.
possibly be the other option with him. I mean, but yeah, I think for sure Mikal and Ubra for sure going to be staying.
Yeah. And I mean, like, going like for the value of Warren and Jackson, going
Hmm.
back to the trade deadline, there was rumors about Lonzo coming here.
Yeah.
And as soon as that didn't happen, I mean, I don't see Lonzo coming here in the summer.
Hmm.
You know, I feel like once that didn't happen on the trade deadline, the talks were going to be done.
Yeah.
So I don't know, what type of player that they could get for Jackson and
Hmm.
Warren if it's not Lonzo.
Yeah. I mean, I think the point guard that they do need. I mean, Tyler Johnson has been really good for them
Yeah,
compared to the other guys.
he's definitely been a good stopgap for them.
Hmm. But I just think that they don't need a guy that's going to be demanding a shot
No.
necessarily
Yeah.
because Booker will be their scoring guy, and Aiton will most likely be the second, if not
Hmm.
third, behind Oubre. I mean, it's the Oubre, Booker, and Aiton will be the scoring guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, they need a guy that can score a bucket, that isn't going to be like a Rondo or someone left open, but can still
Hmm.
get to the basket. That's why I think Lonzo, if they could find a way, getting him being able to pass at an elite level to guys like Aiton and
Yeah.
Booker and all of them would clear up immensely for him. And even the fact that he did not start shooting the three a lot better this past year before
Uh-huh.
the injury. So I mean, we'll have to see though. I mean, like I said, there's so many options they can look into.
Yeah. I mean, Lonzo's definitely the number one guy for me to get if
Mm,
talks do start up again
for
this
sure.
summer. Um, and I know Booker, like how you said, they don't need a guy that's gonna, be putting up 20 points a game. They just need somebody to play
Hmm.
good defense and pass. But it's like I know Booker is the guy that you give the ball to, and I mean, to take the
Hmm.
last shot.
For
But I
sure.
mean, sometimes like once it hits the fourth quarter, I feel like they just say, "All right, Booker, you're taking every shot," which I mean,
Yeah.
he can do that, but the reason
It's
you
not
have guys like
successful.
Aiton and Oubre on the court during crunch time is to keep the defense on their toes, so they're not just
Hmm.
focused on Booker.
For sure.
But yeah.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for having you on the show today. It was a pleasure
Hmm.
having you.
All right, thanks for having me.
No problem. Stay tuned as I hit up my last topic, hitting up both the NBA power rankings that I have currently and what to watch and who to watch in this NCAA tournament that your team could potentially be targeting and who could be some of the new stars of the NBA. So I'm mostly going to keep this thing NBA related, but it's March now, and it is March Madness time. And I'm going to keep it real. This year has not been the best year of sports for college basketball, in my opinion. There's been a lot of, not as much talent, I should say, to watch. It hasn't been as exciting, but that does not mean that there's not talent to watch in this tournament because these are the top 64 teams, and they're about to go in it. Let me start off with something real quick. My favorite matchup, and I think this might just be the greatest one versus one matchup, guard matchup in NCAA tournament history, that will be the Murray State versus Marquette game, which features Arizona native Marcus Howard versus John Morant, a top five pick, top three player, going head to head. Two guards that will be on elite level, I believe, in my opinion. I hope Marcus Howard goes off, and he will go off. I think both Marcus Howard or John Moran, whoever wins this game, will put on a Cinderella kind of story and will put up a historic run. Their numbers will be incredible, and this will be a show. I'm talking 30 to 40 to 50 point games from both of them. That will be a game to watch. That'll be my game I'll be watching, no doubt about it. Secondly, Texas Tech has a guy named Jarrett Culver, which he's got solid potential, got some upside. But if you haven't watched him, check him out, see what he's got in Texas Tech. Another player that was a top 10 projected pick in the beginning of the year has been playing pretty well in my opinion is Naj Reid out in LSU. LSU's been very surprising this year, especially in conference play. Check him out. He's a big guy. He's a very good center, I believe, for the next era of players to come in. From Kentucky, you have Keldon Johnson and PJ Washington, two very solid young players. Keldon Johnson especially is very good. PJ Washington came back another year to get better. North Carolina, they have Nasir Little, which hasn't got as much playing time throughout the year, but when Roy Williams knows how to use these young players, and he's turned Nasir Little into a very good player, watch out. And also, the young fella that just passed Michael Jordan, most points ever by a freshman. You need to watch him. Watch him get going. Cody White, watch him. He is good. And finally, y'all already know, I have to give a little bit of shout out to my Jayhawks. There won't be too many NBA prospects this year necessarily to watch, but Devin Dotson is special. He is the next elite Bill Self guard, just like Jerome Collins, Mario Chalmers, Devontae Graham, and Frank Mason. He is special. The Dedrick Lawson, he'll be in the NBA for a little bit too. Quentin Grimes and these other guys might have a chance in the future. We'll see. But watch Devin Dotson. He will put on a show and he'll amaze you with his speed. Now the next topic we're going to hit into is my NBA power rankings for this week. My top 30 goes like this. I'm going to start at 30 and just go down. New Orleans Pelicans, they're dead last. They're on a 6-game losing streak. They are not looking good whatsoever. 3-7 in the last 10. Followed by Cleveland, Memphis, the Lakers, the Knicks, and then the Mavericks. I'm putting those two guys up because at least they won some games this week. 24, I've got Chicago Bulls, followed by Timberwolves, Hawks, Charlotte, and Phoenix Suns. Now, Phoenix Suns, yes, the 1754, my power rankings fluctuate. They go by how the heck they're playing right now. That's all I care about. I don't care about your record, I don't care about nothing. I want to see how you're playing right now because that's all that matters. So yes, Phoenix is 20, the highest I've had them all year in my power rankings. Next up, at number 19, I have Washington, which is making a very late push. And let me just be honest, if Washington was a playoff team, Bradley Beal is an MVP caliber player. His season is incredible. Back-to-back 40-point games. He is special. He is the real deal. Start paying attention to this man. He's elite, and that's who the face of Washington should be and will be. It is no longer John Wall City. The nation's capital is Bradley Beal. He leads that capital. I don't care what sport you're talking about. He is the face of that team in that city, in that state. Then we got Sacramento, Orlando Magic, Brooklyn, and Miami. Brooklyn, y'all know that's my team. They've been struggling on the. And I also want to talk about this real quick. This schedule that they have to end the year is ridiculous. Everyone's above 500 except for the Lakers, but if you think about it, when the league scheduled this, they're planning on Lakers being a contender. 13 games of all above 500, all teams in the playoffs, and we only have one home game against the Milwaukee Bucks. And right now we're on a back-to-back Utah then LA Clippers, and last night Sweet Lou put the lights out and hit that dagger. We had a 10-0 run, which was very impressive and incredible, and then he flat just took it out there. Nothing else much I can say there, but Miami's continuing to win games. Dwayne Wade is putting on a show. Then we got Indiana Pacers, Detroit Pistons, Boston Celtics, Oklahoma, which they have been losing a lot recently. 4-6 last 10, lost 2 straight. Then Utah Jazz winning 3 straight, Clippers winning 2 straight. They are 8-2 in the last 10 games. I got Clippers at number 9. Number 8 is Portland Trail Blazers. They are good. We'll see what happens with CJ here. Number 7, San Antonio Spurs. How do they do it every time? They're going to have another above 500 seed, and they will be in the playoffs for a 22nd consecutive year. Most in NBA history. They are 8-2 in the last 10 and won 8 straight once again. You've got to realize this. San Antonio is the real deal, and they can win games. Not saying they're winning a championship, but they can win games. Toronto's at number 6 for me. They've gone 5-5 in the last 10. Now, number 5 is the Houston Rockets. They're 9-1 in the last 10, folks. This team, when they're healthy, they can play. I still don't think they're the contender. Golden State's winning it, don't even get me wrong. Houston can play, but I still don't see Harden's game being winning basketball. At number 4, I have Philadelphia. They've won 4 straight. They've got Joel Embiid back. Embiid is now number 3, by the way, in my MVP poll. He's unstoppable. Yes, he has off games and all this, but he is durable. He is healthy now. He just came off a little bit of a little injury issue. He is fine. This Philadelphia team is special, especially when Jimmy Butler's playing like that. Their starting 5 is special, especially with the fact that Milwaukee is down Brogdon now. And that bench is starting to come together. They've got a bench rising. Number 3 is the Warriors. They're going to win it once again, but they are 5-5 in the last 10. No KD. They just play. Once it's tournament playoff time, they're turning it up. Don't even second guess this. Denver's number 2 with 3 straight wins, 6-4 in the last 10, a 46-22 record, and they are in the playoffs. Most likely, they have got one more win, I believe, and they are locked in. And number 1 is the Milwaukee Bucks still. I understand they lost last night to Philly. They're 6-4 in the last 10 with a record of 52-18, and they are in the playoffs. We'll see what happens without Brogdon, but right now, Milwaukee is still my number 1 team in my power rankings. Stay tuned for when I get in the zone, and SchuZ Zone goes over some of the hottest topics that are not discussed as much, but I want to do a quick hit up and what my quick opinion is on them. I'm locked and loaded, and let's get ready for SchuZ Zone. We're going to start off with one out of the 6 main topics we're going to talk about that were not discussed heavily enough by the media this past week. One is a Rajon Rondo stat. The Lakers are plus 37 and plus or minus when Rondo's off the court. When he's on the court, they are minus 98 in the plus minus. This clearly shows that Rondo is not fitting well in the scheme of Luke Walton, and the system built in LA is not well. Rondo is a great player. I believe he's going to be in the league for a long time. But the situation and the dilemma going on in LA is causing many players to lose who they are and what kind of players they were. Secondly, let's go to Malcolm Brogdon. Now that he's missed the rest of the season, he will become the 8th member of the 50-40-90 club. He has shot 51% from the field, 43% from 3, and an amazing 93% from the free throw line. Malcolm Brogdon truly is one of the main reasons and key pieces in this Milwaukee Bucks system, which is why I truly do believe that Milwaukee will greatly be hurt by this loss. Malcolm Brogdon was Rookie of the Year, as we all know. Now, no, is he still the greatest player in that rookie class? No, but he's a very great player and he's very underrated. Thirdly, let's go to Alvin Gentry and that mishap that occurred when the New Orleans Pelicans were playing the Phoenix Suns. Alvin Gentry called a timeout when they did not have a timeout, which resulted in the Phoenix Suns to get a technical free throw, which ended up winning the game for them. Now, this came following right after they were about ready to get a 5-second violation, and the players were about ready to call a timeout, but Gentry said, no, take the 5-second violation. So Gentry knew what was going on. But in my opinion, this shows that the Pelicans do not have their mind in the game this season. Yes, we've seen great things from guys like Frank Jackson. Elfrid Payton has 4 straight triple-doubles, which is very noteworthy. Diallo has shown signs. Okafor has shown signs. Randall's played spectacular, as I've said before. But this team is not focused. They're not ready to go. Oh, and Jrue Holiday is a very special kid. You guys all know how I think about him. I think he's the greatest two-way guard besides Kawhi in the NBA right now. But that being said, Alvin Gentry did take credit for what he mishappened there. But this just shows that they're not in the game. And I think that this probably will not happen again. But once again, certifies why Gentry is not a championship-level coach. But he's not a bad coach. He's a good coach that can win games for you if you need him to. The fourth topic we're going to get into is Zach LaVine will pay, and has offered to pay Jim Boylen's fine for his ejection. Ever since Jim Boylen came in, he came in with an attitude of getting a core group that is focused and together, a lot like what Kenny Atkinson did. He fed out all the people that are so-called soft, and he made this team that's great. He got rid of a whole lot of players, sat them or benched them, and he's got a team that's playing really hard right now and developing. But most importantly, they have a very strong connection, as has been said by many people across the league recently. And Zach LaVine has great respect for him. And in my opinion, when this first happened, they fired Fred Hoiberg. I figured that Jim Boylen would be fired after the end of the season. But with all this happening and the way that they're playing and developing chemistry, I truly do believe that Jim Boylen will remain the head coach in Chicago. Next topic is that Serge Ibaka versus Marquise Chris fight. It happened when Cleveland was playing the Toronto Raptors, and Serge Ibaka put Marquise Chris in a chokehold. Following him, he went and punched him multiple times. Marquise Chris defended himself by throwing a punch. Serge Ibaka was suspended 3 games, Marquise Chris was suspended in one game. To me, yes, it is more fun for fans. It does get a lot of coverage seeing these kind of fights, and I did enjoy it. But it is not clean. It's not a family environment, which is what Adam Silver has many times stated among the league. That being said, the rules are rules, and the suspension is a suspension. I do think SchuZ Ibaka should have gained more because he has done this multiple times in the past. I just think this is not tolerated, especially in a playoff time. This was very not necessary for SchuZ Ibaka, and it has hurt them. Because there's no point in possibly risking your health, your injury, when you're about to go to the playoffs. First of all, I don't know how they're in the situation against Cleveland. Finally, I'm going to hit up probably the greatest stat I've seen in a very long time, if not ever. And if you guys have seen this, the San Antonio Spurs, led by Greg Popovich, has only lost and had a losing record for 65 days in the last 22 years since Greg Popovich has taken over. Now let me tell you the numbers behind that. In the last 22 years, that is 8,030 days. With that being said, 0.00809% of the time, they have a losing streak. That is it. Now this streak will go on because they're not going to go under 500. So this streak will go on for almost another year at least. Or about half a year, 6 months. You can add that in, whatever. Point is this, in my opinion, this signifies why Greg Popovich is the greatest coach in NBA history. And yes, I said that. He is amazing with what he's done with teams and development and getting teams that do not have as many star pieces but still turning them into something special. Greg Popovich is the greatest coach in NBA history. Well, everyone, that's a wrap. Thanks for joining me today on the second SchuZ Views. If you enjoyed today's episode, please go and check out my social media accounts on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook by following or liking my page at Zach, Z-A-C-H, space SchuMaker. Also, please continue to spread the word about SchuZ Views by posting, tweeting, or just telling others. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe or favorite SchuZ Views by hitting the star right above my podcast if you're on Anchor. You can also view SchuZ Views on Spotify, TuneIn, and Pocket Cast now. Help get this episode to 400 views, surpassing the 330 plus views we got in the first SchuZ Views. I hope to see you guys again next week for more of SchuZ Hot Takes. This is your host, Zach SchuMaker, signing out. I just want to say, God bless.